What's up, guys? It's your boys Awoki back at with another Chris Watts video. This one from Secret in the Dark, another YouTube channel that I definitely do enjoy watching. The title though has me very puzzled. Because I'm wondering what it could be technically, because it states if I had lied to NK or Nichol Kessinger that night, my family would still be alive. That could open up a whole different things that he lied, or if he told the truth apparently. I'm very puzzled with this. Like, I'm curious to put it in ChatGPT to see what it thinks about it. But we're going to watch the video and then we're going to see what the answer is at the end. Because if he had lied to her and said, what he's trying to say is he told the truth, which caused the death. Is that what I'm getting at? If I had lied to Nichol Kessinger that night, my family would still be alive. I don't know. We're going to watch it together anyways. So, with that being said, don't forget to grab your chair, your comfy blanket, because it is definitely freezing outside right now. And then don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel by hitting that wiper icon down at the bottom right. Hit that bell icon next to it. When I do post videos like this one, you guys will get that little ring notification that I've posted that video. And then you guys can watch, comment, like, and share. And again, thank you so much for the love and support. Keep on doing what you guys are doing. And hopefully one day we will reach that 100K goal. And then go over to Secret in the Dark. Go give them some love. You know the deal. And with that being said, let's get into this.
Maybe met her at work and then just kept it that way.
Yeah, probably should have.
I think if we had a time machine, I don't think this would happen again. Because some people, when this happens, you're like, well, if it wasn't this time, it would have been next time, or it would have been the next time. It just wouldn't have happened with you, would it? And it happened so quickly that you tell me if I'm wrong. You're not the type of guy to take control sometimes when you need to. Yeah, it seems like that's just what happened.
I didn't take control of the situation. It was like the situation controlled me.
Right, it just happened. No, I get that, man. I'm somewhat passive myself, and it's like, you know, there's situations where I'm like, well, why did I let that keep going? No.
Yeah, I don't know why. It was like a roller coaster ride that I just kept punching and taking on and just never picked it up. Like even my friend Jeremy Lindstrom, he even invited me because like it was his daughter that came and watch the kids on that Saturday night, and he was like, "Hey, you said we're going to a Rocky game. You want to go to me with the Bronco game and watch the Arizona Cardinals?" Like in my mind, it was like, just say.
Instead, he chose booty.
Hey, I can't find a babysitter.
Nikki?
Yeah. And maybe that would have been like, like a light switch and my head goes off, light switch and her head goes off, maybe it just like goes different directions.
Is that the lie he's talking about?
That's kind of like my last opportunity to kind of get out. This game
that he could have done?
I wish I would have said, yeah, let's go. Yeah. And I think that would have just put me on a different trajectory.
Chris Watts says he wishes he had never gone out with Nichol Kessinger that night, that he wishes he had lied about having a babysitter, that if he had just stayed home.
Is that night so significant? They went to the Lazy Dog, and then the night after that, on Sunday, they had their 100 limited phone call, which I don't think was a good call. I used to think it was probably like phone sex. But I think it's honestly to the point where it was an ultimatum where Nichol was like, "Hey, you've been telling me that you're gonna leave your wife. Said you're separated, but I don't see nothing happening. I want to be the first. I don't want to be the second. I want to be your main woman. I want to be with you. I love you. I want to do more stuff to you. I'm addicted to you." And Chris was like, "Well, what do you want me to do?" He's like, "Figure it out," kind of thing, or get rid of him, or something to that effect. You guys can elaborate as well. But I honestly think that's what happened. Plus, the whole thing with them going to the Lazy Dog and him using the credit card, it was at that moment he's like, you know what? I don't care if Shanann finds out. There's something in between the lazy dog and the night of the 100-minute phone call. In that almost 24-hour period, well, it was 24-hour period, something bad happened. And that's what set Chris off. That's what set Nichol off on this spiraling roller coaster that didn't have an end. It had a drop off, and Nichol was able to get off, but Chris went right into it.
His family would still be alive? It's the kind of reflection people make when the damage is already done, when it's too late to take back the lie, the double life, the secrets he carried like they were harmless. But here's what stops you cold. He talks about these moments as if they were accidents, as if he simply ended up where he ended up, as if the night with Nichol was a mistake instead of a decision he fought to protect step by step.
He acts as though he's been in an accident on the road which claimed the lives of his family besides him, and Nichol was the driver of the other car. That's pretty much how he's blaming it on her.
Because when you listen closely, you realize something. He isn't just recalling the past, he's trying to shift the weight of it. He wants the world to look at that one night, that one lie,
and still not take accountability,
and believe that everything that followed was some tragic chain reaction. But the truth? That night didn't create who he became. It exposed who he already was.
Oh!
And when he sits in that small prison room, talking softly about wishing things were different, you can almost hear what he's trying to do. He wants the story to start at the moment he walked out the door that night, not at the months of secrecy before it, not at the choices he guarded, not at the double life he built with quiet confidence.
This may be an AI channel, but dang, it's got good points.
He talks like a man who stumbled, not a man who planned, like someone who just drifted into destruction instead of steering himself toward it. But the truth hits harder when you realize this. Regret is easy when the world is watching. Reflection is easy when there's nothing left to protect. What's not easy, and what he still refuses to face, is the part where he chose comfort over honesty, attention over loyalty, and a secret life over the family that believed in him.
Dang.
So when he says, if I hadn't gone out that night, my family would still be alive, you have to ask yourself, is that regret? Or is that another way of shifting the blame? You know, every story has a
He's regretting that he got caught is what the problem is.
moment where things change. Not the dramatic moment at the end, the quiet one near the beginning, when nobody realizes what's about to unfold. For Chris and Shanann, that moment came long before anyone heard Nichol Kessinger's name. Long before the late-night messages. Long before the lies that slipped out of his mouth so easily, he barely paused to catch them. In the early months of that summer, people close to the family noticed something. Shanann was trying harder, and Chris was pulling away more than usual.
Yep.
She was still the woman doing everything to keep her home steady. Cooking, cleaning, scheduling appointments, raising 2 little girls, planning for the new baby. She was pushing through fatigue, doctor visits, and work demands. She was carrying the weight of their future and trying to make sure Chris didn't feel left behind. But Chris, he had started living in a different headspace. Quiet, detached, present in the room but absent in every way that mattered. The man who used to wrap his daughters in his arms now stood back a little more.
I feel like this guy was like on autopilot. Like his mind, like Chris himself was inside his mind. Or I should say the little Chris, but the bigger Chris was doing the actions, and his little self was like, no, I don't want to do that. Big Chris was like, oh, we're doing this because we want this and this and this. And I should say on autopilot. I mean, he was technically like a walking zombie at sometimes, because people said that he would just act like blank. Like he would just sit here like this. And then nothing happened. It's like, Chris, hey, snap out of it. And then they blame the patches because he was doubling up. But there are patches that you're supposed to double up. But what's to say you can't sit there and blame the Thrive patches for killing him, because it would be like saying, oh, the man was completely on so much caffeine from drinking Mountain Dew that he murdered his family. I'm just throwing that out there. I'm not actually making a claim that that actually happened, but that's kind of like the same second example. Like you could sit there and say, I took my inhaler and what was ever in here made me hallucinate. If I murdered my family, no one's going to be like, oh yeah, that happened. Like, it doesn't make sense, Chris. That's the problem. He wants us to believe this, and some of us, smart people, not the ones that are goo for gaga for Chris, know and see the stupidity that he's trying to pull.
The husband who once looked at Shanann with pride now avoided eye contact as if her presence made him uncomfortable. And the people who loved them both were confused because she hadn't changed. He had. Shanann felt it too. She talked to friends. She wrote messages trying to understand what she was sensing. She tried to fix it the way she fixed everything else in her life.
And I came up with this question yesterday. Why is it so hard to prove Nichol Kessinger? We've been told that, oh, the Ruseks know, which bless their heart. I don't think that they were given all the information. I feel that things were withheld from them or doctored to make things look different. I could be completely, totally wrong. It's just my opinion and my thoughts. And I can't bring justice on opinions. I mean, they could be factually checked if we had somebody in the DA's office that wanted to give a crap instead of pushing their vendetta and their gain of financial stability and job security and all that stuff. And that's what's upsetting is looking at certain things with the DA, like how it was election year, wanted to move this case as fast as possible. Again, it's more of a coincidence, but I don't believe in coincidences. So,
with patience, encouragement, faith, and effort. She asked him questions. She tried to open doors to conversations he kept refusing to enter. But every time she tried, he shut down a little more. He spent more time on his phone, more time at the gym, more time rushing through moments that used to matter to him. Not once did he admit what he was doing, or why he was changing, or who he was changing for. Instead, he acted like Shanann was imagining things, like her concerns were just stress or hormones or overthinking. But here's the truth people often forget. A shift doesn't start with an argument. It starts with distance, the kind a partner feels before anyone else notices. And for Shanann, that distance grew quietly, slowly, day by day, right in front of her, while the man she trusted stood there, pretending nothing was wrong. You can tell a lot about a person by what they do when no one is looking. And in the weeks leading up to the tragedy, Chris Watts became a man who lived in two separate worlds, carefully, quietly, and with a confidence that made even the small lies feel natural to him. When Shanann traveled to North Carolina to visit family, she assumed Chris would hold things down at home. She trusted him. She believed in who he was supposed to be. She never imagined that the space created by that trip would become the opening he had been waiting for. While she was hundreds of miles...
Because Chris couldn't have left because of his job. Dan can work wherever she goes. Wanted to have the kids, Bella and Celeste, meet Frankie, time with their grandparents, meet Jamie, Chris Watts's other, which I understand. I mean, I'm glad that they were able to have that. Then Nutgate happened, and then family drama happened, and it's just like, I'm glad that they had that time in North Carolina, but I think going to North Carolina also hindered their marriage. Not blaming it on Shanann, I'm just saying it was a part that not helped the case, but caused separation.
away, carrying their unborn son and trying to reconnect with her parents, Chris stayed in Colorado, working, lifting, texting, and building a connection he kept hidden from the woman he vowed to protect.
Hell, I would have came home from work, been on my YouTube channel, playing games, hanging out with the boys, going to the game he should have went to, not going after some other booshmoose woman.
Every night, while Shanann sent messages telling him she missed him, he responded with short answers, half-hearted replies, delays that didn't match the man she married. She could feel something was off, but she didn't want to believe it. Not yet. Meanwhile, Chris was slipping deeper into a relationship he refused to acknowledge honestly. He started speaking differently, eating differently, dressing differently. He changed his workout routine. He changed his spending habits. He even changed the way he carried himself, as if the life he was creating in secret gave him a new identity to step into. And with every choice he made, he moved further away from the family waiting for him back home. Those closest to Shanann noticed it too. Friends said she looked tired, not physically, but emotionally. She was fighting for a marriage she didn't know was already being undermined from the inside. She sent long messages trying to understand why he wasn't calling, why he wasn't opening up, why he felt distant when she needed him closer than ever. But Chris didn't want to explain. He wanted to avoid. He wanted to keep both lives running side by side, hoping one wouldn't expose the other. And in that space, the silence he created...
I agree with that, but at the same time, I think he liked that he had a family to go home to. That if it didn't work out with Nichol, he at least had that to fall on, what his mentality was. But the race was always Nichol being ahead, but he always had this to fall back on, which is sick in itself.
The truth he refused to confront, Shanann was left piecing together a change she never asked for, never deserved, and never saw coming. What she didn't know was that while she was fighting to save her marriage, Chris had already decided which world he wanted to live in. And it wasn't the one he built with her. There's something revealing about the way Chris talks when he's behind bars. He keeps going back to one night, the night he went out with Nichol Kessinger. He acts like that night was some sudden turning point, like everything would have stayed intact if he had just said no to the plans, or stayed home, or told a lie about a babysitter. But that's the convenient version, the version where he makes himself sound swept away instead of responsible. The reality? That night didn't creep.
He was led on a leash, or he was pushed in a different direction. Like, Chris, one, you decided to do this all yourself. He's the main problem. I'm not saying that Chris is not where he needs to be. He's right where he needs to be. But somebody needs to accompany him. And I'm not saying that Nichol Kessinger deserves life in prison, but I feel that with her connection to Chris and her being a mistress, that's why it's illegal in certain countries to have an affair. Some places you get beheaded. Okay? Because where have you ever heard of a mistress ending positive? Somebody's gonna be in the comments going, "This is my life, and this is what I had, and I have a loving like I'm gonna see it." But let's continue.
The distance, it confirmed it. Earlier that day, Shanann tried calling him several times. She was pregnant, exhausted, and doing everything she could.
Very emotional because, let's face it, pregnant ladies, no offense to you, you're very emotional. But it's because the hormones are all over the place. You need to not take it with a personalness. You need to take it with a grain of salt and just tug on it, or how do you say it? Tug on in, take care of the situation, and then move out, kind of thing. He just didn't want. He's like, I'm not for being pregnant anymore. Yeah, I did it, but and then the whole conspiracy that it's someone else's baby. I'm just like, Chris Watts. Nan was not going to sleep with anybody else.
To keep her family connected while she was away, she needed reassurance. She needed partnership. She needed a husband who cared enough to answer. But Chris didn't want to hear her voice. He wanted freedom. He wanted the attention he was getting from someone who didn't know the full picture. So he told a simple lie, a lie he later blamed everything on. He said he couldn't meet her on the phone because he was busy or tired or out. He shifted the story depending on who he was talking to. And that night, While Shanann sat miles away hoping the tension would ease, Chris stepped fully into the double life he had been preparing for weeks. Dinner, conversations, smiles he couldn't hide. A personality he suddenly rediscovered, not because he changed, but because he chose a world without accountability. Meanwhile, Shanann sent him a message, something gentle, something hopeful, trying to bridge the emotional distance he never explained. He responded with coldness, the kind of coldness that tells you everything without saying a word.
There are men out there that would have what Chris had. A man, all he wants is respect, love, and quietness. I'm telling you, you have those three things in a man, that's it. You're gonna have the perfect marriage. Unless you have a deadbeat man or whatever. But it goes both ways too. Women, they love their men, but they love them to a certain extent, but that's not for this video. But Chris, like, you literally want to go through the screen and just like choke the crap out of him, because he had a wife. Yeah, okay, they didn't have finances in the right places. It was not financially good. They had bankruptcy once before. Some people are bad with money. It just happens. I'm really good with money. My fiance, not so good. So it's a give and take kind of thing in a marriage. I don't think I've necessarily seen multiple people that or multiple marriages that are on good with their money. There are some, but they weren't good with money, obviously. And then they go and blame it on Shanann. She bought things and whatever have you. But that shouldn't be the main focus, is the finances. It should be on, did Chris Watts have a helper that morning? And they go after the weirdest things when they go after Shanann and why their marriage fell apart, that she caused, not him.
Then later, in prison, he claimed that if he had never gone out that night, if he had just stayed home, if he had ignored the temptation, his family would still be alive. But that's not honesty. That's a man trying to shift the starting point of his actions as if the night out was the cause instead of a symptom. Because the truth is simple. You don't end up on a date by accident. You don't lie to your pregnant wife by accident. You don't detach from your children by accident.
Right?
These were choices, layered,
Free will.
intentional, protected. In the final week of her life, Shanann took a short business trip to Arizona, a leadership event for her.
And just think, that trip to Arizona, what if that trip never existed? What if she stayed home and didn't go anywhere? So Chris couldn't have gone out that night on Saturday, then had that 100-minute phone call on Sunday night. I mean, it's just the what ifs that just really eat at you.
She wasn't going for leisure. She wasn't going for a break. She was going because she believed in the work she did, and she wanted to keep providing stability for her family. But even surrounded by coworkers, she felt it.
And then people complain about what's in the Thrive patches. I guarantee you're probably watching this video for those haters or whatever have you that are eating and consuming things in their body that God don't even know what is in their body now because of everything that they've put in there. Mountain Dew, chips. I mean, the list goes on and on. The stuff that's in there, like, eat some vegetables, man.
The heaviness, the silence, the distance that had grown so wide, she didn't know how to reach across it anymore. While she was away, she tried calling Chris. She wanted to hear her husband's voice, to feel some warmth, some connection, anything that would reassure her that their marriage.
Sometimes you just want to hear your spouse's voice. It makes you feel better.
Could be repaired. But every call felt colder than the last. He rushed through conversations. He avoided topics that mattered. He acted distracted, as if hearing from her was an inconvenience. Her friends at the event noticed it too. They watched her face fall after each call. They heard the frustration in her voice when she said, "He just isn't the same. I don't know what's happening." This was a woman fighting for a marriage she still believed could be saved, even while carrying their unborn son. One friend said Shanann looked shaken after a phone conversation. Another said she looked like she was losing the man she built a life with. And late one night, sitting in her hotel room,
And then because she was married once before, oh, she's a terrible person.
she sent a long message to Chris, asking him to talk.
I've had a marriage before this. Do I like how it turned out? No. Could I have been with that person forever? Yeah, if it didn't end the way it did. But maybe Shanann left for certain reasons that none of us know about. People say it's financial. I mean, the list goes on and on. But don't go after a woman that's deceased. I mean, that is like not RIP. Completely disrespectful. And the amount of images that I've seen, I'm just like, I don't understand why they're making fun of a or even with the Charlie Kirk thing, like people making fun of that and saying they're glad that he died. Like there's people that say that they're glad that Shanann's gone. Like, what does it take for a person to say that? We're supposed to love everyone and love thy neighbor. Or not love thy neighbor, love thy enemy. God wants us to be loving towards each other. And embrace and talk and build communications and memories and all that stuff. And these people are just making nightmares. For what? Because they think it's funny?
Asking him to be honest, asking him to tell her what was going on. He gave short answers and no explanation. She knew something was deeply wrong, but she didn't know that while she was away working, Chris was using that quiet week to disappear into the world he had been building in secret. When Shanann flew home from Arizona, she came back with more than suitcases. She came back with worry she couldn't shake. Exhausted, pregnant, and emotionally drained, she wasn't returning to the husband she once knew. She was returning to a man who had already made up his mind long before she ever boarded that plane. That night became the final chapter of her life and of her 2 young daughters. And to this day, no one, not the neighbors, not the investigators, not even the people who thought they knew him best, can explain what happened behind those closed doors. So imaging after making the choice to end 4 lives over what I call obsession. We hear Chris Watts use the word wish a lot in his interviews. He says he wishes he never went out with Nichol Kessinger. He wishes he hadn't lied about the babysitter. He wishes
he would have never gotten caught. He thought he was going to get away with it.
He hadn't stepped into the double life he was creating. He frames these choices like moments he stumbled into, as if they just happened, as if he drifted instead of choosing. But when a man talks about wishes after destroying everything around him, you have to listen closely, not to what he says, but to what he's avoiding. Because I wish I never went out that night sounds harmless until you notice what he's trying to do with that sentence. He's pushing the starting point back, away from the deeper truth. He wants the world to focus on one night, the date, the lie, the hours he spent with someone he shouldn't have been with. But the true beginning wasn't that night. It was the months he spent disconnecting, the secrecy he guarded, the attention he chased.
He took off the pictures of his phone. He didn't go home at night. He spent the time with Nichol at her apartment. So he didn't look at pictures, and he wasn't looking at their beds, and he wasn't picking up their toys or their sippy cups. He wasn't reminded of that family and what he built. And all he saw was, oh, Nicole just took her top off. I gotta go. Like, if he was at home, like, you can't, what was that saying? You can't beat lust if you're at a strip club. Don't go to the strip club. You can save yourself lust. You have to prevent yourself to not mess up. He put himself there. Nichol put herself there. Free will, and it caused something bad to happen.
The decisions he layered on top of each other until the marriage he was in no longer matched the life he wanted to live. So when he says he wishes he hadn't gone out, what he really means is, I wish the consequences didn't catch up to me. And when he says he wishes he hadn't lied about the babysitter, what he's really saying is, I wish the truth didn't unravel. Because wishes are easy when you're sitting in a cell. Wishes flow freely when you no longer have the freedom to act. Wishes come out when a person finally realizes the weight of what they've done, but still refuses to name the real cause. He doesn't wish he had made better choices. He wishes he didn't have to face the result of the choices he made. And that's the difference your audience will feel. A normal person's regret is tied to an understanding of responsibility. Chris's regret is tied to an attempt to soften what he did.
You know, there's liars out there that can actually lie where they actually. That's how some people can fake polygraphs. Because if they think they're telling the truth, the machine tells them it's actually a lie. It's a tongue twister kind of thing. That's why polygraphs can't be used because of, or that's one reason of what I just said. People can believe their own lies.
To make it sound like a tragic accident rooted in one night of bad judgment. But the truth stands, no matter how he phrases it. His family wasn't lost because he went out. They weren't lost because he lied about a babysitter. They weren't lost because of a single moment or a single slip. They were lost because he built a second life, protected it, fed it, nurtured it, until he convinced himself he could erase the parts of his real life that didn't fit the fantasy. So when he says, if I hadn't gone out, they'd still be here, you can hear what he wants that sentence to do. Shift the blame, shorten the timeline, redirect attention. But the truth is this: wishes don't rewrite decisions, and they don't clean up the truth he still refuses to confront. Wishes. They are not random comments. They are not casual regrets. They serve a purpose. He's positioning himself. His language shifts him from the center of the wrongdoing to the edge of it, as if he's someone who watched events unfold instead of someone who actively shaped them. And that's the key. Every wish he expresses moves him a little farther away from direct responsibility and a little closer to the role of a man who lost his way, instead of a man who made deliberate decisions. This isn't about regret. It's about control, the only kind he has left. When people lose everything, some cling to truth.
He can't even control that.
Others cling to the version of the story that hurts the least. Chris chooses the second option. His wishes are structured in a way that makes the turning point look external. A night out, a message, a lie he shouldn't have told. He wants to focus on the last moment before everything collapsed, not the months of choices that led him there. Why? Because if the problem started on that night, then the months of emotional detachment, secrecy, and deception fade into the background. And that allows him to hold on to a softer identity, one where he sees himself as a man who made a bad turn, not a man who made his way into destruction. His words are calculated in another way, too. They make him sound like someone searching for meaning instead of someone acknowledging harm. Every time he says, I wish, the subject that follows is small, superficial, something that sounds fixable, something that makes the regret easier to digest. But notice what he never says. You never hear him wish he had been honest. You never hear him wish he respected boundaries. You never hear him wish he protected his family the way they protected him.
I wish I would have been there for Shanann. I wish I would have done this for my children. Like, you don't hear that.
He focuses on the surface because the surface feels safer. And that's why these so-called wishes matter. Not because they tell you what he regrets, but because they reveal what he refuses to confront. It tells you exactly where his mind still is. Not on accountability, not on transparency, but on preserving whatever image of himself he can still hold onto. This isn't regret. This is strategy. The quiet kind people use when they...
I don't know why he's doing some strategy. He's just trying to make himself look better on the outside of the prison when we don't care what he looks like. He looks like dirt.
Wants sympathy without admitting the truth that earns it. When you step back from everything Chris Watts has said, all the interviews, all the letters, all the quiet statements he gives from behind a prison wall, you start to see a pattern that reveals more than he realizes. Every "I wish" he offers is about the moment before the collapse, never about the deeper choices that created it. He talks about the night out, the lie about the babysitter, the messages he should have ignored, the road he claims he should not have taken. But not once does he confront the truth beneath all those layers, that long before any of those moments happened, he had already abandoned the values his family believed he lived by. Because real regret begins with honesty. His begins with revision. Real accountability starts at the root. His starts at the point that feels the least painful. And that is why, even now, his wishes carry a hollow tone. They reach for sympathy, but they avoid responsibility. They sound reflective, but they dodge the core truth. A wish can soften a story, but it can't rewrite the facts. It can shift the tone, but it can't change what was chosen. It can explain what he wants people to focus on, but it can never erase what actually led them there. In the end, his wishes tell you far more about his mindset than his mistakes. They show you a man who wants the world to start the story at a point that makes him look less intentional. A man who still hasn't walked into full accountability.
And Nichol Kessinger wanted the same thing. He wanted a story that made her look innocent.
A man trying to
underneath that page that she's trying to get us to watch is the actual, or not watch, read, is the evil that she did.
build comfort inside a reality he created with his own decisions. And that's the part your audience will remember. His family wasn't lost because he went out one night. His family wasn't lost because he lied about a sitter. His family wasn't lost because of a single opportunity or a brief temptation. They were lost because of a series of choices he refuses to own, choices he now covers with, "I wish." And for the rest of his life, those words will echo in a cell where wishes can't rewrite what he chose and what he can never undo. Before you go, I want to hear from you. Do you think Chris Watts...
I'm going to leave it there on that video. I want to bring up the thing here when it comes to ChatGPT. I just wanted to see what it thinks. Like, I always use it as like a buddy that I could talk to and say, hey, what do you think about this? It's right here. So what it really suggests, if I had lied to Nichol Kessinger that night, my family would still be alive, implying that Chris Watts is shifting the responsibility away from himself and placing it onto the relationship with Nichol, which we pretty much were watching already. In other words, he's saying if I had told Nichol what she wanted to hear, or if I had lied about staying with Shanann, or if I had lied about the marriage ending, then none of this would have ever happened, kind of thing. This logic is dangerous and manipulative. Chris was very manipulative, but so was Nichol. The real translation, it means he's implying he only murdered his family because he felt pressure to keep Nichol. He suggests he would have chosen lying over murder if he realized it, or if he realized it, it would end his relationship with NK. Can't have that. He's shifting blame towards Nichol as if her expectations forced him into it. This is a classic offender psychology, minimizing personal accountability and attaching the motive in someone else's influence. The dark layer. Ooh, it just keeps going, man. It also lines up with what many people believe. He was obsessed with Nichol. But like you could say he was obsessed with Nichol, but then you could say she was obsessed with Chris. Like you could go back and forth with Chris and Nichol, and Nichol, then Chris. It's like, it's scary that how identical they were. He thought the only way to be with her was to eliminate his family. Idiot. He believed honesty with her sealed everyone's fate, which suggests he cared more about keeping her than protecting his children. So when he says, if I had lied, what he really means is my relationship with NK mattered more to me than my family, and I chose her over them. But I don't want to say that out loud. Oh, yeah. My direct interpretation, it's a confession masked as an excuse. It means he chose the truth with Nichol over the lives of his family, meaning he valued her emotion reaction more than their safety. And that is chilling. If you want, I can turn this into a... I mean, I could, but we're not going to go there. So, definitely makes you mad. Definitely... It blames Nichol, like we should, but also Chris is just trying to get out of it and say, I didn't do it. I wasn't the only one. There's somebody else. There's also rumors that no one, or Chris or Nichol, didn't murder. It was some hitman. Like so with all that we just watched and read and so forth, when it comes to Nichol Kessinger and Chris Watts trying to blame that one night instead of the whole months he had before, I would love to know your guys' thoughts and opinions down below. Like we're shooting the breeze at Starbucks, drinking some coffee, and just having a great morning, adding it up about crime and Chris Watts' case. So again, thank you guys for being here. Please take care. Be safe. As always, keep nerding on, and we will see you guys in that next video.